Loneliness and substance issues often go hand in hand. But what most people don't realize is that loneliness can follow you into sobriety. And if you don't address it, it can quietly push you toward relapse. Recovery means growth. It means changing your habits, your environment, your identity. And that kind of change often means leaving behind the people and places that once made you feel connected. And it's not only about sobriety. Sometimes it's life changes in sobriety or shifting life stages. Maybe your kids are grown and gone, and now the house is quiet and you don't know what to do with yourself. Maybe the marriage didn't last, or the friendships didn't make it, or you just don't feel like you anymore. You're not drinking, you're doing the work, but you feel disconnected from other people, from your life, maybe even from yourself. So if you've ever thought, why do I feel so alone? This episode is going to answer that. We're unpacking the real reasons loneliness shows up in sobriety and exactly what to do about it so you can protect your peace, support your growth, and create a connected, fulfilling life that actually fits who you are now. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh, master coach, recovering alcoholic, and your partner in building a sober life you love. Today, we're digging into something that almost everyone in sobriety feels at some point, but hardly anyone is prepared for, and that's loneliness. Not just social loneliness, but the emotional disconnection that shows up when you start growing faster than your environment. When you're doing the work, evolving, becoming more self-aware, and the people around you just aren't. It's frustrating. And if you don't understand what's happening, you might start to think something's wrong with you. So today we're going to talk about what this kind of loneliness really means, why it happens, and how to navigate it without isolating or sabotaging your progress. And if this conversation hits home, if you're doing all the right things but still feeling emotionally untethered, this is exactly the type of thing we work on in private coaching. So you are always welcome to book a free call with me. The link is in the show notes, okay? I want to start this with my own story because all the things I'm going to share with you today aren't theory. This is lived experience. And the truth is, I didn't feel lonely when I first got sober. In fact, I felt the opposite. I was surrounded by new people who understood me, who got it. I had a whole new circle through AA. Did I have social anxiety? Absolutely. I wasn't used to showing up places sober, but I kept going. I kept drinking the bad coffee and I kept showing up even when it felt awkward because I knew I couldn't build a sober life if I was still clinging to the drinking one. And yeah, that meant some of my old friends started to drift away. Our connection had always revolved around alcohol. So as I changed, those bonds changed. But I also made the decision to open my world up. I stopped limiting myself to people who looked like me, dressed like me, worked out where I did, or had the same schedule or style. In sobriety, the connection is sobriety. And some of the best conversation I had in those early days were over coffee with people 20 years older than me. Were we different? Totally. But what we had in common was so much deeper than what we didn't. And I learned more about myself in those conversations than I ever did trying to blend in with people who didn't really know me. So here's the plot twist. I didn't feel real loneliness until later when my life started getting better, really better. And some of the people who were supposed to love me the most couldn't handle it. I was proud of myself. I was growing. I was doing things in my life that felt big and meaningful and exciting. And some of my people, instead of cheering me on, they pulled away. That's a whole different kind of lonely. Not because you don't have people, but because you realize the people you thought would be there might not be able to come with you. And if you've ever felt that, you are not crazy and you're not alone. You're just growing in ways most people never will. And that can be lonely. But it's also the beginning of something extraordinary. Loneliness in sobriety isn't just about not having people around. It's about the emotional and identity shift that happens when you start really working on yourself and the people around you aren't. Most of the world lives in avoidance. They numb, they scroll, they drink, they gossip, they blame. They stay in jobs they hate and relationships that don't work because it's easier than changing. But recovery doesn't really give you that option. If you want to stay sober and actually enjoy your life, you have to face your stuff. And that kind of growth creates space between you and the people who aren't doing it. And that's where loneliness shows up. Not because you're failing, but because you're evolving and wanting something more for your life. And here's something most people don't realize. Personal growth, real growth, is rare. Most people will spend their whole lives numbing their discomfort instead of healing it. You're doing something radical. You're showing up for your life. And of course, it feels lonely sometimes. You're no longer aligned with your old habits, your old social circle, your old identity, but you also haven't fully stepped into your next phase yet either. Loneliness in sobriety is less about isolation and not being around people and more about transformation and wanting more. You're becoming something new. You're entering a new stage of life. And that version of you, she needs new energy, new people, new places to belong. And that doesn't happen automatically. You have to build it on purpose. And here's the part we have to talk about because this is where a lot of people stay stuck. Connection doesn't magically appear just because you want it. You don't get community or purpose or belonging just because you're sober now. You have to build it. That means showing up even when it's awkward. That means pushing through the laziness and the I don't feel like it and the I'm just too tired today. That means getting off the couch, off your phone, and into your life. You want real connection? You want friendships that feel aligned? You want a life that's rich and full and actually supports who you are now? Then you have to stop waiting and start moving. The effort is worth it, but no one's going to do it for you. Loneliness is a natural part of the growth process, but staying lonely, that's a choice. So let's talk about what to actually do with that loneliness because awareness is powerful, but action is what changes your life. The first thing you need to understand is this. You don't necessarily need more people. You need more intentional connection. You could have 100 people around you and still feel alone if you're not being real or if you're not aligned or if you're trying to fit into a life that no longer fits you. Before we talk about how to build connection, I want to talk about what kind of connection you're building. Because most people have no idea what it means to be aligned in their relationships. They're just trying to find someone to talk to, someone to grab coffee with, someone to text. But if you're not intentional, you'll end up recreating the same unfulfilling surface level relationships you had before, just with different faces. So what does it mean to create aligned connection? It means making space for people who actually fit your energy, your values, your lifestyle, your growth. And let me give you some real examples. I'm an introvert. I connect deeper in small groups or one-on-one. So going to loud events or big parties doesn't light me up. It drains me. I used to think I loved that stuff, but I didn't. I was just drunk, and drunk numbs all that discomfort. And over the years, I've learned that the people I connect with best are usually the ones that feel the same. That's alignment. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have extrovert friends. I have plenty of extrovert friends and I love them. But how we connect and how we hang out is different. My extrovert friends find me to be very boring, right? They want to go out. They want to be at big events. They want to talk to 100 people in an evening, right? They're not going to call me to do those things because I don't want to do those things, right? They're going to call their other extrovert friends to go do those things. We connect by sharing a meal together, going to a movie together, a quiet night in together where we're just catching up and connecting. That's alignment. I'm also a fitness person. I take care of my body, but I didn't get there by accident. It came from years of learning to love myself and rebuilding my self-esteem. So I naturally connect more with people who value wellness and discipline and growth because we speak the same energetic language. That's alignment. I'm not a gossip. I don't enjoy conversations where we're tearing people down. It's toxic, it's small, it's not how I live. So I don't participate in those situations with people who thrive in that, right? That's alignment. I know I don't fit there. I know I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't do it. That's alignment. I love spirituality. I'm obsessed with brain science and skincare, power tools, meditation, volunteering, deep conversations. I believe in being a good person and showing up for others. I believe in doing what's right, even when no one's watching. So when I talk about building connection, that's what I mean. Create relationships that support who you are, not who you were in survival mode. This is why hanging out at bars or trying to just be social with people whose lives revolve around drinking doesn't work anymore. It's not about being judgmental, it's about alignment. If you're doing the work to grow, then you deserve to be surrounded by people who are growing too. People who see the world in similar ways. People who regulate your nervous system instead of triggering it. People who lift your energy instead of draining it. That's what aligned connection feels like. Not forced, not surface, not performative, but natural and comfortable and energizing. And if you've never experienced that before, I'm telling you, it changes your whole life. Now that you know what aligned connection really means, let's talk about how to go out and create it. Because again, this doesn't happen by accident. The kind of relationships that actually fuel your sobriety and support your evolution and feel like home, those are built with intention. And yes, it takes effort. And yes, it might feel awkward at first, but so did sobriety. So did boundaries. So did saying no when you wanted to say yes. No one has ever died from being uncomfortable. And life is a series of uncomfortable events, whether you're sober or not. You got to get good at being uncomfortable and knowing that you'll get through it. You're not here to live small anymore. So if you're tired of feeling disconnected, here's what to do instead. And let's start simple because connection doesn't begin with crisis or pouring your heart out. It starts with consistency. One of the biggest mistakes we make is waiting until we feel lonely or overwhelmed or isolated and then trying to force some kind of deep emotional moment to feel better, right? That's backwards. I see this a lot, especially in recovery circles, this belief that you only need to reach out when something's wrong. And people tell me, I don't know what to say. Nothing's going on. I'm doing fine. People say this all the time about their sponsors. Well, I didn't call because everything's going okay right now. But that's exactly when you should call. You build the habit of connection when things are calm so that you're already comfortable reaching out when they're not calm. Don't turn people into your emergency contacts. Don't make your relationships trauma only. I don't want to hear from someone only when they're spiraling, right? It's also very selfish, only using people when it serves you. Why didn't you text me when you heard a funny joke? Why didn't you call me when you got the job or hit a major milestone or just had a great day? Connection is about sharing your life, not just offloading your breakdowns, right? So here's your move. Reach out to someone aligned with the kind of life you're building, not to vent, not to fix anything, just to share. Send a quick, just thinking of you message or share a meme, share a podcast you like. Celebrate something little. Make it normal, make it mutual, not just about you and what you need, and make it consistent. The point isn't to get something back. The point is to build the habit of connection from a place of intention, not emotional urgency. That's how you stop feeling alone without needing a meltdown to justify the connection. This is how trust is built. This is how you stop being emotionally isolated. This is how you stop expecting people to carry your pain when you never invite them into your joy. And this is how you stop feeling lonely, by making connection part of your life, not just your crisis plan. Number 2, get in the room. And before I even start this point, let me be clear. I don't care what room. I don't care if it's AA, Smart Recovery, Refuge Recovery, a group coaching call. So don't come at me with your drama about not wanting to go to AA. If you don't want to go to AA, don't go. And if you have some weirdness or you disrespect AA, I promise you, I don't want you there because I do a lot of good work in that room and it saved my life. And there's a lot of incredible people in there. So if you don't respect it, don't come. The point is not which room you're in. The point is that you need to get in a room, any room, with people who speak your language, people who have been where you've been, people who have done the same embarrassing stuff, who won't flinch when you tell the truth. That kind of alignment is everything. It doesn't matter if they're 20 years older than you or work in a totally different field or don't look anything like your usual circle. The alignment is sobriety. The alignment is growth. When you show up in those spaces, you can finally take off the high functioning mask. You don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to explain yourself. You just get to be real and still be accepted. That's the kind of room that keeps people sober. And that's the kind of room that helps you feel human again. So whether it's a free meeting, a private support group, a paid coaching call, get in the room. Get in front of people who see you, because isolation will always lie to you, but community reminds you who you really are. So go to a meeting, join a support group, book the coaching call, attend the workshop you've been eyeing but keep putting off. The room itself doesn't matter. What matters is that you're surrounded by people who speak your language. People have been through what you've been through and get it without judgment. When you're in the right room, you don't feel like an outsider. You don't have to explain yourself. That kind of safety is the antidote to loneliness. 3, rethink what your people look like. If you're only open to connecting with people who look like you, talk like you, or live in your zip code or are in your exact phase of life, you're going to stay stuck. Some of the most meaningful relationships I've ever had were with people I never would have chosen in my drinking life. People way older, way younger, different backgrounds, different beliefs, but the connection was real because we were both growing. And that's the criteria now. Number 4, plug into growth-based spaces. You're doing the inner work. Now get in rooms where other people are doing it too. Again, whether it's coaching, therapy, masterminds, book clubs, women's groups, make it a priority to surround yourself with other people who are evolving. One of the biggest reasons people feel lonely in sobriety is because they keep trying to connect in all the old places with people who aren't doing the work. If you want different results, you have to start looking in different places. And I'm not just talking about churches or book clubs or workout classes. Those are great if they speak to you. But I want you to think wider and deeper. Think about what you're really working through right now. People pleasing, unhealed trauma, chronic pain, grief, low self worth, emotional regulation. These aren't surface level struggles. So don't try to solve them with surface level socializing. These are additional spaces you can get into that actually support your healing. I go to meditation groups. I also go to Spanish speaking groups because I love to always be improving my Spanish. I go to a ton of metaphysical stuff because I'm super spiritual and super woo woo, and I love all that stuff. I love learning. I love exploring. I love putting myself in places where I can connect with people who are curious and compassionate and awake. Do I always look like everyone else in the room? No. Especially I go to metaphysical things. You guys, I just went to this great mystic fair over the weekend. I don't look like people in those rooms. Everybody is very like hippie, bohemian, supernatural. Everybody smells earthy and like patchouli. And then I walk in the room and I'm full glam, like, do I blend? No. Do I always feel totally comfortable at first? Definitely not. But every time I stretch myself into a new space, I learn something new about myself. And I meet people who reflect a piece of me I'm growing. You're not just here to stay sober, you're here to expand. And that means finding rooms that support your evolution. Remember, sober is quitting the substance, recovery is healing. Go to the grief group, go to the trauma healing workshop, go to the damn sound bath or the energy healing circle. Do a somatic healing thing or a breath work thing. Find the places where people are doing the work, where you can drop the mask, stop performing, and actually feel seen. Because when you surround yourself with people who are healing, you stop feeling like the only one who's doing the work. And you start remembering that you're not behind, you're just getting started. The more you learn about yourself, the more connected you become, not just to others, but to yourself. That connection to self is what makes loneliness lose its grip. Number 5, be of service. It's not about you anymore. One of the fastest ways to feel connected is to help someone else. Call the new person, leave a review, share the podcast with a friend. Be the person you were looking for when you started. Connection isn't always about what you can get. It's also about what you are willing to give. Loneliness can make you incredibly self-focused. And I say that with love because I've been there too. You start living in your head, spinning all the things you want, what you expect, how you think things should be. And suddenly your whole world shrinks. It's just you and your thoughts and your disappointment. This is why being of service is so powerful. It breaks that cycle. It pulls you out of your own head and into someone else's experience. It softens your judgment and reconnects you to humanity. You start to realize you're not the only one hurting. You're not the only one who's healing. Service shifts your energy from what can I get to how can I show up? And that shift is everything. It dissolves some of those old negative stories that your brain keeps clinging to. It helps you forgive yourself. It helps you see yourself differently as someone who has something to give, not just something to fix. And most importantly, it reminds you that your life has value. Even when you feel low, even when you don't feel ready, you just need to show up. So text the new person, share your story, leave the comment, hold the door, smile at someone. Start contributing to the world you want to live in one little moment at a time. Because one of the fastest ways to stop feeling lonely is to stop living like you're the only one who matters. Loneliness in sobriety isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're growing. It's what happens when you evolve beyond your old life and you're finding your way into your new one. And it's uncomfortable, but it's also sacred. And if this part about identity hits home for you, go back and listen to an episode I did several weeks ago, The Identity Crisis No One Talks About in Sobriety. That will help you go even deeper into the identity shift if you're feeling that. And I will link it in the show notes for you too, so you can get there right from your podcast app. The Identity Crisis No One Talks About in Sobriety. But this is where you get to rebuild not just your habits, but your connections, your community, your sense of belonging. If you're sitting there feeling lonely in sobriety at any stage, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. What are you actually doing to not feel lonely? And if your answer is nothing or I don't know, then that's the problem. And that's what this episode is here to fix. You don't overcome loneliness by waiting for someone to show up and fix it for you. What most people do is sit in it. They ruminate on the problem. They replay the same stories. They feel sorry for themselves all day, every day, but they don't actually do anything about it. That's not healing. That's avoidance. And if you want to feel differently, you have to act differently. You overcome it by getting uncomfortable, by doing the work, by making the effort even when you don't feel like it. You've heard me say this before. A bus full of happy, sober, aligned people is not going to pull up in front of your house, knock on your door, and ask to take you to magical places and build you a beautiful new life. You have to go where the people are. You have to say hi. You have to participate. Your life is your responsibility. If you want more connection and more fulfillment, more aligned relationships, you have to go create them. And today's episode is to remind you that you're capable, you're ready, and you're the only one who can build the life you want. And again, if that identity is the piece that you're struggling with, if you're asking like, who even am I without alcohol, then go back and listen to that, The Identity Crisis No One Talks About in Sobriety. That episode will take you deeper into that. Everything I shared with you today, from reaching out when things are good, getting in the right rooms, choosing aligned relationships, expanding into growth spaces, being of service, these aren't just tips. They're tools to change your life. This podcast isn't just here to help you stay sober. It's here to help you live well, to feel strong, to stop shrinking, to build a life that feels deeply connected, grounded, and aligned with the person you are in this stage. And I promise you, if you keep doing the work, those feelings of loneliness will be replaced with something so much more powerful. And that's real connection and real happiness and a life that finally fits you. Loneliness isn't a character flaw. It's a wake-up call, a sign that it's time to stretch, reconnect, and start living more aligned with who you actually are now. And if you're not sure where to start, or if you're ready for real support in building that next version of your life, I want to invite you to book a free call with me. We'll talk about what's going on, what you need, how I can support you, whether it's personal coaching with me, my online course, or something else that might fit. And you can do that at addictionunlimited.com/call. And that link is always in the show notes, addictionunlimited.com/call. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.